Hey everyone, come follow me. Yay, come follow me. We're into Genesis 12 to 17 and then Abraham 1 and 2. So this is the story of Abraham and Sarah, who are called, at the beginning, Abram and Sarai. So whether you're calling them Abram and Sarai, they become Abraham and Sarah. So we're just going to call them Abraham and Sarah. Cool? So let's start off with, it's going to skip around this bit because the scriptures that I'm using and the points that I'm making, which I always prayerfully decide, this week have been taken from scriptures that don't run chronological. So although the story runs chronological, I've sort of skipped about to make the points for this week fit better. So bear with us as we go through on that. And welcome from Hamilton in our 32 degree heat, and that's about 90 in the States. So yeah, send us some of your ice. Anyway, let's start in Genesis 15:18, which reads, "In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates." Or Euphrates, I could say it's Euphrates, we know it as. That's just one of the verses you're going to read this week that talks about covenant. So that's what my question really is to you, what is a covenant and what is the Abrahamic covenant? Because this will come up a lot in our study and probably has in the past, and you've kind of gone, oh, that's a promise that Abraham made with God. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's also a whole lot more. So if you really want some studying on that, there's actually a sheet in this book, which is where I get that one, and the teacher's version, which I have there. But this is where I pull all the information for my insights. I do other reading for my knowledge, but the questions and scriptures that I'm teaching you here come from this. There's a page in there that I actually took out and glued into my notebook. It's called, if you can see there, it's just called The Covenant. And I've highlighted the bits that speak to me. It's 2 pages. There's the back part. Upside down. It's just the way it glued into my book better. But that explains really what's going on, because you'll often just hear people say, what's the Abrahamic covenant? Oh, it's prosperity, priesthood, and the promise. Well, something else. Anyway, those are 3 P's. Oh, priesthood. Priesthood, prosperity, and something. Anyway. Promised land? Yeah. Prosperity, priesthood, and promised land. I was right. But it's more than that. It really is. And so let's talk about it. A covenant is a promise usually only with God and Jesus is what we make now. Although in law there are covenants on lands, and real estate still uses that term covenant. But it comes from this ancient time where covenants were like a serious contract. It wasn't just like a little, oh yeah, I promise you this, and then fall through on it. It was a serious, you can put me to death. And if you really want to deep dive into that, I just go watch Emily and David on Don't Miss This, because they really cover that in a way that I just could not describe to you. They do it with such honest spirituality and make it really clear. But anyway, it's a serious promise. It's a serious thing. It's not something to be taken lightly. And it was between 2 or more parties. The Abrahamic covenant refers to the covenant between Jesus and Abraham that we read about this week. But through the Bible, it is known as the covenant. It is fullness of prosperity, priesthood blessings and ordinances, and promised land, meaning the fullness of the gospel. Priesthood, like the order of the priesthood, as in, again, remember, it's the order of the family, it's the way things are done. It doesn't mean that those who hold the priesthood are in charge. No, that's not what it means. And exaltation. It takes the grace of the cross and brings more through temples, giving us exaltation and glory in all things. And you'll read in this Come Follow Me manual this week that it says, does this covenant mean that the people of Abraham and Sarah, and were they like more favored of the Lord? Did it, make them more special? No, the only thing it made them more special in is the sense that I am giving you all of this with the expectation that you are going to share it with others and help others. So that's what part of that prosperity is. So yes, it brings you great prosperity. And when you read through it and you read about all the people that Abraham had as servants or people of his house, the flocks and the sheep and everything he had. He was considered wealthy. And yet he continued to be given more. Why? Because he shared it. He never claimed any of it as, oh, this is mine and mine to do what I want to do with. It was always, this is the Lord's and we will help. This is God's, we will help others. So that's the difference. Cool? President Nelson also talks about, and that's in the Come Follow Me manual, and I put that in there too. That's some really good stuff on the Abrahamic Covenant, because it goes through the generations and it's promised to us. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of that as well before we get to our quote for this one. The covenant God made with Abraham and later affirmed with Isaac and Jacob is of transcendent significance. The Lord appeared in these latter days to renew that Abrahamic covenant. With this renewal, we have received, as they did of old, the holy priesthood and the everlasting gospel. We have the right to receive the fullness of the gospel, enjoy the blessings of the priesthood, and qualify for God's greatest blessing, that of eternal life. That's what he said. Because Abraham and Sarah were sealed together in a celestial marriage. They had the fullness of the priesthood. Pretty cool, right? Melchizedek blessed them, remember? We do read about that. It's covered about this much in this week's reading, but it is in there. They were blessed. Abraham was able to hold Melchizedek priesthood. So, we're going to get to how that happened, but anyway. As part of the second part of it, the ultimate blessings, this is not President Nelson talking. Oh, no, it is, just in a different, this is still President Nelson talking, different article in the Ensign, different talk. It says, the ultimate blessings of the Abrahamic Covenant are conferred in holy temples. These blessings allow us to come forth from the first resurrection and inherit thrones, kingdoms, powers, principalities, and dominions to our exaltation and glory in all things. So that's what I'm saying, like, we are all saved by grace. Yes, we are. But it takes it from the cross and just being saved by grace. This Abrahamic covenant takes us now to the fullness of the priesthood, the fullness of the blessings we can have, and the covenants we make in the temple. It goes beyond just Christ saving all of us because we exist. It goes into, okay, I'm going to give you these things, but you need to do these things. And takes us into that higher place of being, which is how we live as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and indeed actually even a lot of people in the world who are Christian do live a good portion of this. They're just lacking that priesthood authority, which, can be here or there for a lot of people. To me, it's a big deal, but to some, it's the sticking point. So, I hear you on that, but that's what it is at this current time. The point I've got here, which I really like and I really want to point out too, is that, again, with that patriarchal order, that is a husband and wife together thing, or even an endowed person thing. It does not necessarily need to be a marriage thing. That is a whole other thing, but to be part of that Abrahamic covenant is just to be temple endowed. That entitles you to those blessings, whether you are sealed, married, or not. Or man or woman, or other identified, if you are an endowed and keeping your covenants, that's where you fit. So I took this quote from Sister Sherry Jew, because she points this out about in her book, Woman in the Priesthood, and I really like this. She said, endowed covenant-keeping women have direct access to priesthood power for their own lives. The challenge and opportunity for each woman is to learn what this means and how to access that power. So, we have it. Do we use it? Do we know exactly what we can do with it? Do we, do we even ask, right? So, that's part of the whole Abrahamic covenant. It's a long explanation, but yeah, definitely read that page that I pointed out that is in the Come Follow Me manual. If you don't have the actual manual, you can look, it's online as well. It's in between the 2 weeks. It's just like a extra little blurb insert. Works really, really well. So that's that. Hang around. We're going to get into how to demonstrate faith. Okay, see you there.